First, all the fallout from last night's face-off, the vice presidential debate. Like just about everything else in the country right now, dominated by the coronavirus pandemic. You saw those plexiglass shields in place, the administration's record front and center. It was a much more civil debate than last week, but the exchanges were sharp and substantive, even if many of the moderators' questions went unanswered.
Our Mary Bruce is in Salt Lake City. And Mary, as George has said, the vice presidential debates debating a little different from what we saw last week in the face-off there. Good morning, Mary.
Robin, good morning. This was a very different debate last night, and we've just learned it may be the last debate. Big news here this morning. The commission just announcing that the next debate is going to be virtual. And already President Trump is saying if that's the case, he's going to pass, that he will not attend next week's debate. This morning, President Trump says if the next debate is virtual, he won't do it.
I'm not going to waste my time on a virtual debate. That's not what debating's all about.
With the president still battling COVID, the Commission on Presidential Debates announcing that the next face-off will be virtual, with the candidates participating from separate remote locations, saying the decision was made to protect the health and safety of all involved. This morning, Biden's team says he's still in. The pandemic upending this race, overnight taking center stage at the first and only vice presidential matchup, potentially the last debate of this election cycle. Right out the gate, Kamala Harris taking the Trump administration to task for its response.
The American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country.
Separated by plexiglass and sitting over 12 feet apart, the California senator accusing Vice President Mike Pence in the White House of keeping Americans in the dark.
They knew what was happening and they didn't tell you. They knew and they covered it up.
Pence pulling from the president's playbook, claiming a vaccine is right around the corner.
We believe we'll have literally tens of millions of doses of a vaccine before the end of this year.
But experts say it likely won't be widely available until several months into next year. With the outbreak at the White House growing, Pence asked to explain, how did this happen?
That Rose Garden event, there's been a great deal of speculation about it. Many of the people who were at that event, Susan, actually were tested for coronavirus. And it was an outdoor event, which all of our scientists regularly and routinely advise.
But there was no social distancing and very few masks, and he failed to mention that the celebration included an intimate indoor reception, instead saying Americans should be free to make their own decisions about how to protect themselves from the virus that has already infected 7.5 million people across the country.
The difference here is President Trump and I trust the American people to make choices in the best interest of their health.
Over and over again, both candidates dodging questions. Harris ripping into Pence for trying to dismantle Obamacare with no replacement.
If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you. If you are
Pence said he and the president have a plan that would protect people with pre-existing conditions, but wouldn't say what that plan is. Instead, he changed the subject, pushing Harris on whether a Biden administration would pack the Supreme Court, a question she wouldn't answer.
People, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Trying to answer you.
Despite their policy differences, the debate a stark contrast to the clash between President Trump and Joe Biden, with a return of civility.
And I also want to congratulate you, as I did on that phone call, on the historic nature of your nomination.
Thank you.
And this morning, the Trump team is saying instead of attending next week's debate, the president's campaign will hold a rally instead. It is unclear if the president himself will be attending, but we know he's been itching to get back out there, promising his supporters he'll be on the campaign trail soon, even as he continues to battle this potentially lethal virus. George.
Mary Bruce, thanks very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.